Hello, my name is Ada Murtha, and today we're going to be talking about listeriosis, the consequence of a Listeria monocytogenes infection. So what is listeriosis? Listeriosis is a serious infection caused by the bacteria Listeria monocytogenes. It can cause severe symptoms that affect the whole body, and it's most commonly contracted when contaminated food is eaten. And while Listeria monocytogenes is widely distributed in nature, it's usually easily avoided when foods are washed or cleaned properly. And because of this, listeriosis is a relatively rare disease with only around 0.1 to 10 cases per 1 million people every year. So here's a closer look at Listeria monocytogenes. It is a gram-positive bacteria. It has a bacillus or rod-shaped or a cocobacillus shape. It employs facultative growth, so that means that it can grow in the absence or presence of oxygen. It is motile, so that means that the cells have a propensity to move on their own. It is a lactose fermenter and is also catalase positive. And catalase is an enzyme that converts hydrogen peroxide to water and oxygen gas. And here are a few other photos depicting Listeria monocytogenes growth. Here's one picture in particular on the right with growth being exhibited on an agar plate. And also here's another photo of a gram-stained lung tissue sample from a newborn that happens to have listeriosis. So here's the mechanism of action in a treatment plan for listeriosis. Listeria monocytogenes can live in water and often contaminates food from standing water in packaging plants. Listeriosis cannot be transmitted from person to person, but it can be transmitted from a pregnant mother to her fetus. And this is very, very serious because when the fetus contracts listeriosis from the mom, this can lead to serious effects like premature labor or even infant death. Listeriosis is treated with antibiotics. There are 70 different antibiotics that are listed as effective in this treatment, but the most often, listeriosis is most often treated with ampicillin. And on the right here, here's a graphic depicting how a Listeria monocytogenes bacterium infects a cell and transfers its information from cell to cell, leading to the overall infection of an individual. So here's a specific example relaying how severe listeriosis can be worldwide. So who is to blame for the 2008 Canadian listeriosis outbreak? Well, the sources of blame were cold cut products located in one of Maple Leaf Food Inc.'s facilities in Toronto, Ontario. And 57 total cases were identified during this outbreak. And this outbreak spanned from June through December of 2008. And out of the 57 total cases across many provinces of Canada, 22 of those individuals unfortunately died. So who was most at risk of this outbreak? Well, people at risk of exposure included individuals with compromised immune systems, pregnant women. We're noting the connection between pregnant women and transfer of Listeria monocytogenes to the fetus, the elderly, and other children across Canada. And also to note, children with compromised immune systems were particularly at risk as well. And how was this resolved? Well, Maple Leaf Foods, the Maple Leaf Food manufacturing plant that the outbreak spurned from, underwent extreme sanitation protocols, and listeria training sessions were given for employees. And on the right here, we see a map of the distribution of cases of the listeriosis outbreak. And while we know that the origin was in Toronto, Ontario, it would be no surprise that Ontario overall had the most listeriosis cases, followed by Quebec and British Columbia. So here's a detailed look into this outbreak. So the origin, in July of 2008, there were surveillance teams that detected an uptick in listeriosis cases based on data from long-term and acute care facilities. And this got investigators thinking. They determined that the source of the outbreak was at Maple Leaf Foods Inc. facility located at Banter Road in Toronto, Ontario. And this is more commonly known as Facility 97B. And this is known as Facility 97B because when the cold cut products get manufactured in the factories, they get labeled with a symbol stating where the cold cut product came from. And for these cold cut products at this factory, they would be labeled as 97B. So cold cut meat products coming from production lines 8 and 9 at the facility were contaminated with Listeria monocytogenes. And these investigators posit that the process of contamination occurred during packaging of the meats. So here's a specific look on Listeria's monocytogenes effects based on the 57 cases that were documented during the outbreak. So the majority of cases involved individuals over the age of 50, and they were also predominantly female. And out of the 57 cases, 47 individuals were hospitalized. And multiple individuals showed symptoms of septicemia, which is bacterial blood poisoning, meningitis, which is brain and spinal cord inflammation, and focal infection. And as stated earlier, out of the 57 cases, 22 individuals unfortunately ended up succumbing to listeriosis and passed away. And on the right here is a graphic depicting the schedule, or the schedule of case infection recording throughout the entire outbreak. So as we can see here, there is a significant uptick in cases during around August, or not August, but there's a significant kind of blip in the increase in cases. It's almost a normal distribution of case transmittance. So here's the resolution and prevention of future outbreaks and the legacy that the listeriosis outbreak had on Canadian public health policies. So for the immediate solution, Maple Leaf Food Inc. recalled all their products that were made at Facility 97B after learning that the facility was implicated as the source of the outbreak, even though the company at the time had been recalling items prior to the confirmation of the source. Customers were advised to discard and not consume any meat that was manufactured by Maple Leaf Food Inc., especially if it was labeled 97B. And Facility 97B itself was completely sanitized, and the machines were disinfected with various compounds like isopropyl alcohol, quaternary ammonium compound, and granular compound, among other cleaning products. So for future methods for prevention of any related outbreak in the future, well, this outbreak caused major changes into Canadian public health policy, with response protocols being updated to ensure more effective and timely outbreak response if a future contamination were to occur. And additionally, there was the establishment of a system of guidance for food recall based on food safety and epidemiological evidence. And also, employees were required to undergo a Listeria awareness session and learn how to detect the warning signs of a possible outbreak if one were to occur in the future. Additionally, they also learned and practiced updated safety and health protocols, and this is very, very important to combat future foodborne illness outbreaks, no matter if it is listeriosis or anything else, salmonella, for instance. But these policies really push forward the level or the threshold that food processing plants need in order to prevent a future health scare or outbreak that can cause lasting damage on the infrastructure of the food packaging or food manufacturing industry. And so at the right here's another figure or a picture depicting the intense sanitation strategies taken by the Canadian Health Department. So here's just my slide for references. I really appreciate you listening in to this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much.